Good morning. This is Pastor Lynn with Goodland United Methodist Church. Finding the right balance is our discussion this morning. In Luke 10, "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this and you will live." On one of my office shelves is the German English catechism that my grandfather carried with him from the farm to confirmation class when he was a boy. At the top of the first page is this question: what is to be our chief care in life? The answer follows: that we be saved and inherit eternal life. For the writer of that catechism, as for the lawyer in Luke 10, the ultimate concern in life was to be saved and have a part in the world to come. Jesus didn't find fault with the lawyer's question, but neither did he affirm it. I think we should ask ourselves whether being saved should be our chief care in life. Let's suppose that following Christ as faithful servants was our chief concern. Would we be saved? Yes, because of being faithful, having faith, and living by it. Do faithful servants of Christ worry about their own salvation? No. They spend too much time and effort on others to make personal salvation their main concern. So then, it is possible to be so concerned with our own salvation that we neglect the neighbor, who is Christ among us. It is also possible to be so concerned with meeting people's physical needs that we neglect our unique opportunity to meet their spiritual needs as well, bringing salvation through the gospel. There's a story in the Bible I want to share with you about a farmer's neighbor. The batteries were dead in the old radio. It looked as if the family farm would miss the cliffhanging episode of The Lone Ranger. But wait, the neighbors had a radio too. They even had a wind charger. The family climbed in the car and drove up the road to the neighbor, who were only too happy to have company, and they all listened to the Lone Ranger together. This little vignette is true. It serves to illustrate the hospitality and the concern that we must have for one another, as found back in the 1930s and should still be found today. So I ask you this question: who is your neighbor? Jesus had a better idea still. Judging from his parable, your neighbor is not just a person who lives close by or who has something in common with you. Your neighbor is the person that you make your neighbor. In the story of the Good Samaritan, he had no reason to stop when that man had fallen, but he did because he saw that man by the road as his neighbor. Lord, free us from the tendency not to get involved. Enable us to help others by sharing our salvation with them. Have a great week.